Hello, hello. I am the white collar goon, the creative and artistic manifestation of Angels in Politics, and remember, you are the news. Um, I'm so glad to have you here with us today, and there is a message that I would like to convey to you, but hopefully we can have some type of back and forth conversation soon. I'm aware there's only one subscriber that's out there, and she doesn't speak to me that often, but I know there will be a time when people will be like, hey, I actually am looking at what you're putting out there. I don't agree with everything. Actually, there's so much that gets me fired up, and that's actually a good thing. I want the fire there. Um, but sooner or later, people are gonna respond. I'm not. I'm not going to wait for the responses. I'm just gonna continue doing what I need to do and be in accordance with nature, universal laws of nature, the universal laws of nature, and this is where I am. First and foremost, have you had your breakfast? Okay, have you had a lunch? Thanks to my mother, she prepared a meal for the family this morning, so my tummy is full. Pancakes. Well, actually, I made the pancakes, but she made. Well, actually, I made the eggs too. But she set up everything. She set out everything for us to make it. So yeah, pancakes, eggs, sausage, bacon. Somebody might say, "Wow, you don't normally eat those types of things." Aren't you normally having a healthy juice? Aren't you normally drinking water with apple cider vinegar? This is it. This is it. Um, but it is Saturday, and sometimes I move with the flow, and I do have routines. Um, I am interested, or am I am embarking upon the beauty of organization and being a bit more strategic and structured, but at the very on the very same token, I am also very flexible. I'm also very free flowing, and I cannot be confined to, of course, any identifications. The misidentification of the human ego is the cause of suffering, but also just the identification of where you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be doing it. It takes you away from mindfulness and being present in the day, fully present in the exact moment. And trust me, you are where God wants you to be. And that's just the universal laws of nature. So boom. Right now I'm in the whip. Normally I will have you outside. Well, I'm not gonna say normally, but as of recent, being that this spring time has sprung upon us, I will have you outside. But the neighbor is cutting his yard, cutting the grass, and it can get a little loud. And I really want you to feel the words. So we'll step out later on. And it's not that bright today. The sun is being covered by the clouds, but this is okay. This is okay. I think my father will have me assist him with the yard later on today. And if this, I do enjoy the sun, but if it's not that bright, then maybe I won't be as it won't be as draining. So boom, that's not the message for today. That's just me giving you this type of rundown, and so let me tell you what I'm going through. Let me tell you what's been going down with me. So boom, I'm going to, like, I have homework right now. Like, there's homework that I was doing yesterday and today, and also tomorrow. Hopefully I can knock out a pretty decent chunk today. But I've mentioned before, I am embarking, or I am undergoing this fellowship for sales development representative, or representative is what they call it. So SDR role, and the tech scene for a startup company, or for startup companies. The companies that I will be applying to will, that will be coming into fruition. I'll mention those later. I don't know them as of right now, but right now I just got to make sure that I'm just doing my present day work, and taking the fellowship one day at a time, and fully soaking up and internalizing everything that I'm receiving. A lot of the terminologies, a lot of the modules, a lot of the competencies are somewhat foreign to me. I mean, I've read, or I do read, Fast Company and INC and a lot of the emerging technological, like, or innovative companies that are, popularized or, coming out. And, I now look through those things, but I don't have a background in tech. I don't know how to code or do anything as far as programming. And my mathematical skills are subpar, to say the least. So, I mean, more of my strengths tend to be in the expressionist category, the social interactions category, conversationalist, interpersonal communications, communicative skills, um, intuitive, feeling, perceiving, enthusiastic. Just the social atmosphere has kind of been my thing. But this is great because even though I have not had jobs, or my strengths haven't been in the scientific and the algorithmic and the reasoning and analytical and mathematical uh, hemisphere, it's good that I am placed in this environment where I can learn and be kind of in alignment with these types of individuals who do have these strengths, because now that's how we have the merging and the intertwining and the intermingling and the boom. That's the boom. All right, because it's like, oh, you took the fire with the ice, or you took the lunar with the solar, or you took the water with the fire, and like now we're synthesized, and this is alchemy, brother. This is the alchemist, brother. This is whenever you have the sauce. All right, so that's some shit that's going down with me now. I'm doing homework. I'm trying to get on it. I'm finishing that, that Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. Mark my words now, you will be hearing more about that. That's a powerful book. That is a transformative book. That is a mind bending, ground breaking book. So in that in conjunction with meditations Meditations of Stoicism by Marcus Aurelius, and of course just the every morning just reading the scripture, reading the holy word, the living flesh by God. I mean, those texts, I mean, of course the Holy Bible is something that is going to be paramount, but like to to contrast, just as a contrasting piece of literature, to have that Napoleon Hill talk about outwitting the devil, and then reading the holy word, and then having in the middle just that Meditations of Stoicism by the Roman emperor, is just there's something that's going to come from that for sure, like for sure. So I'm just getting those pieces together. I have these different motifs and emblems that I will synthesize those messages with, or synchronize. But here we are right now. Boom. It is April 2020. A lot's going down right now, but I'm in a good place. I'm in a good place because I'm already making it known. I'm correcting the pelvis, like the posture. Everything is gonna be on this wave forward, because with this virus, with this state of emergency, nationwide. So it's like a national emergency, and it's not just a nationwide thing. It's the globe, the whole world. It has been put on a pause, has been put in this, has experienced such trouble. We're all experiencing these troubled times at the same time, and a lot of us are processing it or processing this information in a certain way. And you can look at it, because we can't control the external, we can't control what's outside, we can't control nature, but we can control how we react to it. We can control our perceptions, and our perceptions play into our perspective, and our perspective is our attitude, and our attitude and perspectives shapes what our reality is. And so, like, for me, I'm utilizing this time to, yo, I'm utilizing this time or using this time to really come into what I had, put down on my phone, or what I had, wrote down for the year of 2020. And, 2020 is four visions in alignment. And I talk about, the beauty of organization, but there was a campaign to really push all of this. And, of course, angels in politics, so you think political campaign. Of course, I have political creative, I have political capital, and the umbrella, the all-encompassing umbrella is angels in politics. But the campaign that is pushing this really is the HARA Line 2020. And a lot of people don't know, what is the HARA Line. HARA Line, HARA Line 2020. So 2020 is the year 2020. You think visions, like your optical, and I'm having issues, not necessarily issues, but I'm having these, this lump in my sub occipital region. And then I have the one eye that goes up and down, so that's like optical, like, malfunctions. And then I'm talking about the HARA line that deals with that deals with alignment of, chakras, energy nodes, traveling up the spine to the crown of the head, receiving universal or cosmic consciousness to come straight down, top down activation. So a lot of that is all encompassing. But for me, I didn't know. Well, I guess I did know, but it's like, thank you, Pinterest, for these types of tags and these types of pins that I receive. Because once you started speaking about frequencies and consciousness and kundalini and awakenings, and this becomes your verbiage, this becomes your rhetoric, this becomes your everyday method of speaking, then you start receiving certain channels and mediums, and you realize that your body is a conduit, so it can receive the universal, the cosmic, the Christ-like consciousness as it can permeate, as it permeates, as it infuses with your makeup, your biology, your chemistry, your energy that has been created by God. And so when I spoke about the HARA line and I wrote HARA line 2020, it really did sound dope. It still does sound dope, but it's like now I'm really going to work on it from the pelvis. Like the pelvis is the central, piece to my physical plane, or to the vessel. And I've been working on a lot of things, and I feel like whether it was like the lump in the head and the eye twitch, or the eye thing, and me, having issues with like one parts of, like, or a part of my ear, or my right side or left side was going in and out, as far as like, being blocked and stuff when I was working on the ship. And I was having these I forgot what they're called, calzians or cal something, but some types of lesions that were appearing under my eyelid. Fucking hell, be me like being bow-legged, and I wasn't born this way. I wasn't this way as a kid. I could look at my pictures as a preteen, or as a adolescent, and I didn't have these things. And it wasn't until like ninth grade, maybe ninth or 10th grade, is whenever, yeah, like high school is whenever I finally noticed. It was like, when did I become bow-legged? Like, and I didn't even notice it. I think I kind of did notice. I remember like standing in my Aunt Tina's and Uncle Preston's like house, and I was just like looking at the mirror, and I noticed that like when I put my feet together, like my knees didn't touch, and I was like, this isn't a normal thing. Like, this hasn't always happened. Like, when did this happen? So it's like a lot of these things, whether it was, the posterior pelvic tilt or anterior pelvic tilt, that came from, a culmination of, you know things. Whether it was, not whether it is, it's definitely weak glutes, weak hip, adductors, abductors, internal, external rotators, sitting too often, maybe lifting, or maybe doing a lot of sports, playing basketball, running, and not stretching before or after. Just bad habits caught up with me. And bad habits as far as in my, earlier adult life, I guess, with partying and the way I treated women and a whole lot of things. And I won't say I treated them that bad, but maybe I didn't have the. Maybe I did. Maybe it was like more objectifying them and having a certain psychology and ideology on how I should conduct myself. So all of these things have been in a cycle. It's been in a cycle in my life, and whether there were the physical ailments that I talked about in the past, and I mean, I was talking about my ears, talking about my eyes, talking about the lump, I was talking about my bow legs, but like I'm talking like physical, like internally, like my thyroid has been was thrown off, and I was consuming food without necessarily feeling satiated and full. I was drinking and still not and still feeling thirsty. I mean, drinking good things, or then I would not feel hungry, but I could drink like, and never stop, like literally, like you can just keep going, and it was like this bottomless pit, and smoke can be this bottomless pit, and so many things were being thrown off, having these terrible, like, pains in my head, and it wasn't like migraines, it was more so like pressure, and I felt like it was a buildup of cortisol, and or what, I don't know which one is the good one. Serotonin. I think a serotonin is the part of your brain that like produces like the good feeling, or feels like, that plays into your mood. And I feel like cortisol is something that like makes you a bit more depressed or something, or it makes you a bit more down. And I had never been that kind of way, but there was like pressure around my temples, and I believe like my body was stressed and my body was tight, and all of this I feel like well, I'm not gonna say all of it. I mean, all of it is connected, but the major, I feel like the centerpiece would be the body, and the centerpiece of the body would be the pelvis, and what surrounds the pelvis is the psoas, and the hips, and my hips are tight. I mean, the hips are incredibly tight. I was just at the ashram, and and even some of the yoga instructors were like, one lady was like, "Hey, man, sir, can you put your like legs together?" And I'm like, I literally can't. Like, I mean, like, this is me trying to, but it's like she was looking, and you would think, I'm not gonna say you would think, just because people are trained in yoga doesn't mean they're like personal trainers and they've studied like the human anatomy. There are people who are specialists in, the physiological anatomical structures of the human body, particularly like the hips and pelvic region. So they probably can give you a bit more of a like detailed and intricate like, information. But as far as like even just being in the ashram, people are like, yo, like, we notice you have a lot of issues, or you have a lot of trouble just sitting down in a comfortable position, your seated position. When they talk about comfortable seated position, I have none. Like, I literally don't have a comfortable seated position because my hips are so tight, my glutes are so tight, the piriformis, the iliacus muscle, my psoas. I mean, everything is just like this, and it's like this. And once you are clenched, how can I receive top down energy? How can the kundalini energy, or the lunar energy, or what I call the divine feminine, it's not just what I call, I mean, it is, how can the divine energy flow freely when it's constricted at the base of the spine, when it's constricted at the psoas, when I'm restricted? How can I meditate and receive the universal downloads bestowed by God Himself when when my body is constantly shaking, and going through its contortions and convulsions, honestly, sometimes, and it's spontaneous, and it's uncontrollable. And a lot of people might think, oh, this is a good thing, this is the kundalini, like, moving through you, when it is. But it's showing that even even the swami who taught our integral yoga program, she was saying like, brother, you're beamed up. You have the light, and you're lit. She didn't say lit like you're ready to party. Maybe she might know my past, but she was like, no, you're lit, like you're lit up like a Christmas tree, brother. You're like, what you need to do is learn how to surrender. Your body is tight. Your hips are tight. Everything within your vessel is constricted. So you have to let go. You have to let go. Surrender the ego. Surrender to God, and that's what the HARA Line 2020 is. God bless. Namaste. I'm a scar.